Hello, I'm going to go over the Chapter 34 PowerPoint on special senses. This chapter goes over the special senses, including the sense of smell, taste, vision, hearing, and equilibrium. They're called the special senses because their sensory receptors are located in sensory organs located in the head, including the nose, tongue, eyes, and ears. We'll start with the nose and the sense of smell. The olfactory organ is found in the upper part of the nasal cavity. Smell receptors are chemoreceptors located high in the nasal passageway, which send information to the olfactory nerves. The diagram to the right is a diagram that will be on the test, so make sure you're familiar with that. The human scent cells are renewed every 30 to 60 days from the only cranial nerve found to be able to regenerate. You can actually smell fear and disgust through sweat. Women have a better sense of smell than men because of a more developed orbital prefrontal region of their brain. The sense of smell can be affected by having a dry nose or excessive mucus or allergies. I'm sure we're all familiar with that with cold and allergy season, how you're not able to smell as well because your nose is pretty stuffy. The loss of smell has been found to signal future illnesses such as Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. With smell, too, you also have adaptation, which occurs with the sense of smell. And that's like if a person smokes, they might not smell the cigarette smoke on them. However, somebody else would. Or there's multiple other smells like strong cologne or perfume where we wouldn't even know, like the perfume I wear every day, I wouldn't notice it as much as somebody who doesn't smell it regularly. I become adapted to that smell, and it's not as overwhelming or as strong to me. Moving on to the tongue and the mouth in the sense of taste, you have taste buds in your mouth. Those are called papilla. Each taste bud has receptors for all 5 taste sensations, including sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami, which is like a savory or meaty flavor. Gustatory receptors are located in the taste bud. Those gustatory receptors will take that sensation or the signal of what sensation it is, taste sensation, and actually send it to the gustatory cortex, which is an area of the brain that interprets the taste. Taste can also be affected by psychological elements of the language, such as the menu description, utensils like silver versus plastic, temperature, hot versus cold. There's a lot of people that are like hot pizza, there's drippy cheese because it's nice and melted, or cold pizza. Some people prefer cold. Color, if you've ever tried green eggs and ham, the green eggs, for some reason, some people just say, oh, I just can't do it because of the color. Kids are another one. They might not like the taste of it, or they might, the taste might be okay, but the color, if it's a color similar to like a vegetable, like green vegetables, they might not even try it because they see the color and they automatically determine, yes, I don't like that. The environment, ambiance, like if you're in a nice restaurant, the lighting, the environment. And then a little information about the eye and sense of sight. The eye processes light to produce images. The eye has 3 main layers, 2 chambers, and a number of specialized parts. When we talk about the structure of the eye, we have the outer layer, which is the white part of the eye, the sclera. Light cannot pass through that layer. No blood vessels are in this layer, but there are multiple sense receptors that detect, excuse me, even the smallest particles in the eye or on the eye surface, such as sand or dirt or an eyelash. We have the cornea, which is the transparent area in front of the eye. It acts as a window to let light into the eye. In the middle layer of the eye, we have the choroid, which is the middle layer. It contains most of the eye's blood vessels. It also contains the iris, which is the colored portion of your eye, and the ciliary body. And those are in the anterior front part of the middle layer. The iris, like I said, is the colored part of the eye, It's made up of muscular tissue. As it relaxes and constricts, the opening, which is the pupil, gets smaller and larger. That helps to regulate how much light is let into the eye. You'll notice if it's very bright outside, the pupil will be very small. If it's very dark outside, the pupil will be very large to allow more light in. The ciliary body is a wedge-shaped thickening in the eye's middle layer. It helps control the shape of the lens in your eye, making the lens more or less curved for viewing either close up or far away. Cataracts is where you have your lens getting hard and cloudy. They will go in and replace that lens if they need to. The inner layer of the eye contains some nerve cells at the posterior of the retina to sense light. You have rods and cones in the inner layer of your eye, and rods function in dim light, but don't detect a sharp image or detect color. Cones are the ones that are responsible for differentiating tones and hues of color. If a person is colorblind, they have an issue with their cones in their eyes. When we talk about the chambers of the eye, we have the anterior chamber, which is in front of the lens. It's filled with a watery fluid called aqueous humor. It provides nutrients to and bathes the structure in the anterior chamber of the eye. An accumulation of the aqueous humor is glaucoma. When you do an eye exam, they'll check the pressure in the front of your eye. Used to be with the puff of air, now it's typically with a little handheld device that gets very close to your eye to check the pressure. If you have an overaccumulation of fluid in the front of your eye, that will cause more pressure, aka glaucoma. The posterior chamber, which is behind the lens, is filled with a thick jelly-like substance called vitreous humor that keeps the retina flat and maintains the eye's shape, so the round shape of the eye. This diagram is on the test for the eye, and so make sure you are familiar with this. Remember that there are diagrams that are in the learning module for you to print and practice with. Those are always available for you. Some visual accessory organs in the sense of vision. We have the eye sockets, which form a protective shell around the eye. You have your eyebrows, which protect the eyes from sweat and direct sunlight. You have your eyelids, which are responsible for blinking, which prevents the mucous membrane surface of the eyeball from drying out. Then you have your eyelashes, which protect the eye from foreign material with the blink reflex. You'd be very surprised how quick you can blink. I don't know if you've ever had something come toward your eye and you're surprised it doesn't get into your eye because your eye blinks quick enough with that blink reflex to protect itself. When we talk about the eye structure, the conjunctiva is the mucous membrane that lines the inner surface of the eyelid. So if you pull your eyelid down, it's the pink part on the inside. It covers the front of the eye and keeps it nice and moist. The lacrimal apparatus is made up of lacrimal glands and the nasolacrimal ducts. So those are like your tear ducts. The lacrimal glands produce the tears, which are mostly water, but also contain some enzymes that destroy bacteria and viruses. You have your extrinsic eye muscles, which are 6 skeletal muscles that move the eyeball up, down, as well as from side to side. Those are voluntary, meaning you can choose to look up or choose to look down, choose to look to each side. That's why they are skeletal muscles under voluntary control. This is a diagram of the lacrimal gland, the lacrimal sac, and the nasolacrimal duct. If you think about it, when you cry or when you have a lot of tears or your eyes water, you notice that your nose starts running. It's because your tears are draining through that the lacrimal sac and down through the nasolacrimal duct, and they drain into your nose. So that combination of getting your eye watery and then the drainage will actually end up coming out in that nasolacrimal duct and into your nose. This is just a picture of the extrinsic eye muscles. You do not need to memorize these, or there will not be a diagram on them or anything, but just so you can see how the eye muscles are hooked to the eye. which allow us to look up, down, side to side, and have that movement of our eyeball. When we talk about the eye and vision, we say the eye is similar to a camera. And so you can read through these where film records the image, and then there's a lens. The lens has ciliary muscles that adjust to instantly to different distances. That's why you can look at something close up, like your computer, and then look down the hallway and see a person walking down the hallway. Your lens is able to accommodate, and it's called accommodation, the distance difference and still be able to see. When we talk about the eye and aging in the eye, pretty much all body systems as you get older slow down, lose function, and become thinner or atrophied. So we have in the eye, the fat tissue diminishes, eyelids droop, quality and quantity of tears decrease, your conjunctiva get thin and dry, your corneas potentially get yellow, or the sclera has brown spots. The pupils become smaller and take in less light. The lens might get yellow, making color vision difficult. The retina changes can cause fuzzy vision. Night and peripheral vision is impaired. This table is a really good table to study for those multiple choice type questions. We're talking about the structure, different structures in the eye, and then their functions. So this would be a good one to take a look at and study when you're studying for this test. Some common diseases and disorders of the eye. So this is in the purple section, that pathophysiology section of your textbook. We have astigmatism, which occurs when the lens has an abnormal shape or the cornea is unevenly curved, causing blurry images in near or distance vision. Typically, you treat this with either contacts or glasses or potentially LASIK surgery to correct that curvature. The next one is dry eye syndrome. This results from a decreased production of oil within the tears. This can be caused by smoke, air conditioning, or computer eye strain. Computer eye strain is becoming a big one with this dry eye syndrome. You're seeing that more and more. The more people are working on computers and on their smartphones, tablets. A lot of things are now on computers. Even if you go to a restaurant, they're typically putting in your order on a computer screen. And so that computer eye strain is becoming pretty common. Ectropion is characterized by the lower eyelid turning inside out due to aging and skin relaxation. Entropion is the opposite, where the lower eyelid turns inside or turns outside in as a result of the aging process, where it kind of flips in. Nystagmus is a rapid, involuntary eye movements. It can be caused by alcohol, some drug use, as well as inner ear disturbances, brain lesions, or even strokes. Retinal detachment occurs when the layers of the retina separate. This is a medical emergency because if not treated immediately, it can lead to permanent vision loss. With retinal detachment, you may see blinking or flashing lights in your vision. You might see little floating things through your vision. If that happens, you should seek medical attention right away. Moving on to the ear and the sense of equilibrium or balance. So the function is to include a sense of hearing, aids the body in maintaining balance and equilibrium. When we talk about the structure of the ear, we have the external ear, which is kind of what you can see from the outside. You have your auricle, which is the earlobe and cartilage. Then you have the external auditory canal, which is the ear canal that enters into your ear itself. It is lined with skin that contains hairs and glands that produce a substance called cerumen or earwax. This lubricates the ear and protects it by trapping dirt, dust, and other microbes, prevents bad things from getting inside your ear and into the deeper structures. The ear canal carries sound waves to the eardrum. The eardrum is called the tympanic membrane. It's a fibrous partition located at the end of the inner ear and of the ear canal. It separates the external ear from the middle ear. So the outside, what you can see on the outside is called the external ear, or is a part of the external ear. And then the middle ear is where the eardrum is at. The middle ear starts with that eardrum. And then you have three very tiny bones. Those are called ossicles. You have the malleus, incus, and stapes. When the tympanic membrane vibrates, so when sound comes into your eardrum vibrates. It causes those ossicles to vibrate and hit the oval window. The oval window is actually the beginning of the inner ear. The eustachian tube is a tube that connects the throat to the middle ear. It helps maintain equal pressure on both sides of the eardrum. The only problem with that, though, is that infections can spread from the throat to the ear and vice versa because they are connected through a tube called the eustachian tube. The inner ear is a complex maze of communicating chambers and tubes called the labyrinth. Each ear has three semicircular canals that detect the body's balance. The cochlea is shaped like a snail's shell and contains hearing receptors, including the organ of Corti, which is known as the organ of hearing. The vestibule is the area between the semicircular canals and the cochlea. And I have a picture of this coming up here. So you have your external ear, which includes the auricle, or kind of like cartilage and lobe portion. Then you have your external auditory canal, which enters into the ear and ends at the tympanic membrane. And then you can see the three bony structures, the auditory ossicles, which are the stapes, incus, and malleus. And then you have your inner ear at the cochlea and the vestibule. The hearing process begins with sound when sound funnels into the ear canal and causes the eardrum to move. When that eardrum vibrates with sound, it sends the vibrations through the ossicles to the cochlea. Sound vibrations cause the fluid in the cochlea to move. The fluid movement causes hair cells to bend. And then hair cells create that neural signal, or that signal that's being sent up through the nerve and into the brain to process the sound. The auditory nerve sends the signal to the brain, and they are interpreted in the brain. When we talk about the ear and the aging process, the size of the ear may seem to have increased as the person ages because of the continued cartilage growth and the loss of skin elasticity. Earlobes will get longer and may appear wrinkled. Glands that produce cerumen secrete earwax, which is much drier and more prone to impaction. The ear canal becomes more narrow. The eardrum may shrink and become less flexible. The little ossicles degenerate and don't move as freely. And the semicircular canals in the inner ear become less sensitive to changes in position, and that can impact balance. This page just goes over hearing problems, or recognizing hearing problems in infants and what is expected in infants and their hearing process. I'm not going to go through this. You can go ahead and read through this if you'd like. This is not a focus of the test, but it's just some extra information that is provided in the textbook for you. Some common diseases and disorders of the ear include acoustic neuroma, which is a benign tumor of the cranial nerve that is involved with hearing and balance. The only problem, even though it's a benign tumor, it does take up place of where normal brain tissue should be. And so it can have impacts on your brain. Cerumen impaction is a condition that consists of a buildup of earwax within the external auditory canal. In lab, we will do a cerumen we'll irrigate the ear and remove that cerumen impaction. Hearing loss is also known as deafness. It's the loss of ability to hear sounds. The cause could be conductive or sensory neural. Conductive means there's a problem with the structure of your ear, meaning that the sound cannot get into the ear, or the sound is not sent through the ear. Sensory neural means that there's a problem with the nerve signal that is sent from the ear to the brain and then back from the brain to the ear. So it just depends on the cause as to what the treatment might be. Otitis externa, media, or interna are ear infections. You have external ear infection, which is also known as swimmer's ear. Middle ear infection is called otitis media, and that's your typical ear infection in the middle of the ear, usually caused by, or will have increased amount of fluid and potentially pus behind the eardrum. You'll see it bulging and red and inflamed. And then otitis interna is also called labyrinthitis. It's an inner ear infection. Otosclerosis means that there's immobilization of the stapes, which is a common cause of conductive hearing loss. Presbycusis is hearing loss because of the aging process, so just kind of your normal hearing loss. And that is it for that chapter.